Let's go. Cool.
All right,
Welcome back.
back in the saddle.
Yeah, back in the stream. And we're talking
Another
about
another hump day
snuff
down.
films. Yeah, another hump day, hump day, hump day. We're talking about snuff films tonight.
Yeah, talking about some sicko shit.
Not exclusively, but definitely sicko shit. Definitely
Yeah,
weirdo, perverted shit.
yeah, pervert ass shit
Yeah, freaks
coming at
only,
you.
for sure. But I guess we'll be talking about snuff films, what they are, whether they exist,
Yeah,
what people define as a snuff film, because yeah, that's a big, interesting point of
yeah. There's
contention that we can talk
plenty
about.
of plenty of shit to go over there. We're talking about
Oh
snuff
yeah,
films and much more. I guess. What were we talking about last week? I think we last week we sort of
we
ended up talking
meandered a little.
a lot though about like our local public access station growing up.
Yes, yeah, yeah, a lot about
Um,
BCATS, Bloomington, Indiana Public
yeah,
Access Television.
yeah. One of the greats, honestly.
Oh yeah, 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 and great
But
archive online, great backlog of programming, but Bloomington in general, just again weirdly, like we were talking about the music scene as well. I mean, it had a great like video scene or whatever you want to call
yeah,
it,
totally.
mostly powered entirely by Dave Walter, who hopefully we'll have on in the future to talk with
Yeah,
because
that'd be
he's
great. I
super
think that'd be a lot of
interesting.
fun.
But Dave Walter was the owner of, or is the owner of, well, Vulture Video now, Plan 9 Video when we were growing up, which was, I think, probably for the source or one of the main sources for both of us for our obsession with, psychotronic film, if you want to call it
Oh
that,
yeah,
or just
totally. I
weird
mean, I
shit in
think
general.
we're together working at Plan 9. I worked at Plan 9 for many years while I went to college,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
or worked.
I only
I
worked
think
there
it's not
briefly for like a summer, but it was still very fun. I watched a lot of movies.
totally. Yeah, I mean, the experience is like mostly watching movies and dealing
Yeah.
with a couple of customers, which is very, very nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a pretty sweet gig. Gets you some cred in Bloomington among a certain set that you might want cred with.
Yeah, also among the
Um,
big box VHS crowd.
yeah. Oh boy,
The horror
that's a fucking
freaks who
freak
would roll
show.
in every
Yeah.
once in a while. Yeah, I'm sure you
Yeah.
remember
No. I
those
mean. I mean.
guys.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't want to make this all Plan 9 stories, but I'll tell you. But I mean, a very common experience was like Dorcas, like leading another Dorcas into Plan 9 and being like, "Look at all these big box VHS horror movies they have."
Yeah.
That was very common. That happened a million times. Well, I will say my absolute favorite Plan 9 memory, the like most horrendous interaction I ever saw was there is this guy who would come in. I can't remember what his real name was, and I guess I wouldn't say it if I could remember what it was, but
Yeah.
I thought of him as the Rat. Um, and he looked a lot actually like Adam Sandler's character in
Uncut
Uncut
Gems.
Gems, but like sort of with an even like a more like pointed face, like less
Uh-huh,
of a like
uh-huh,
a
uh-huh.
movie face, just kind of like teeth like
Yeah, yeah,
jutting
yeah.
out, and but wearing like lots of jewelry and like not really like I mean there were some like truly unpleasant people who would come into the store, but like
Yeah.
and he was not one of those, but he was
He
like
wasn't
just
a
kind of
porn
like a kind
addict.
of no, he wasn't a freak azoid in that way, or like he wouldn't like hassle you really bad or anything. But he was just kind of like an unpleasant guy who
Mm.
would come into the store. Like, so yeah, he would come in quite often. But once he brought like a date with him.
Uh.
Um,
Wow. That's rare.
yeah, and it was like a woman who was much more attractive than him. Uh, we had like dragged into Plan 9, and they were looking at the TV section. So you remember how Plan 9 was laid out at the time?
Yeah.
TV sort of like caddy corner from the desk. It's like a pretty clear line of sight.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
The more palatable stuff is up front, and then the back room is where all the really freaky shit was.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, I can't remember what they were looking at, but they were sort of like in there for a long time.
Mm.
And I was sort of like listening as I was trying to watch whatever movie I had on. I was realizing that how her this was like also clearly like an early date, like they were like sort of doing get to know you chat. Um, her son like worked at the tattoo shop across the street.
Oh, Skinquake? Is that what it was
I think
called?
I can't remember if it was Skinquake. I can't remember if it was still Skinquake at that time.
Great
It later
name.
turned into Time and Tide.
Nice,
Um,
nice, nice.
I think under different ownership, but
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
it could have been Skinquake at the time.
Could have been.
And eventually, this guy kind of like pressured his date into calling her son and having him come over to meet him in Plan 9. And this like tattoo artist like came over and like had to shake this guy's hand. It was this like incredibly
Uh,
like uncomfortable meeting of like your mom's boyfriend,
oh God.
like with this like disgusting looking man.
Doing that in the video store too? What the fuck?
Yeah, it's so foul.
That's
That's
so
I mean like
bizarre.
it's of limited interest.
Mhm.
So I think I'll keep it short. But like that guy was just so fucking nasty. I'd never seen, and like also in a place like Bloomington, like someone like who dresses and looks like that is so out of place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I mean, out of
was such a
place most places,
conspicuous
but
figure. Yeah, just like a
particularly in
real
southern
weirdo.
Indiana. Yeah, bizarre.
But yeah, I guess this is all to say, I think over the last week or so, you and I have both probably been reflecting a lot on
Oh yeah.
like sort of physical media in general.
Yeah.
I think is what we're thinking about this week, but also just sort of like trash cinema. And I mean, what else do we want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think a good entry point too is what I've been thinking about a lot is that we're in a time of extreme media saturation, right? Where it seems like you're kind of overwhelmed with content constantly. Everything's at your fingertips. Everything's so findable. So when you start going back and digging into this world of underground video culture, especially kind of the pre-internet, well, it really it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it does in some really underground way that we don't know about. I'm sure there are still video traders out there. But when you think
Totally. Yeah. I
about
mean,
it,
sorry.
no, go on,
No,
go on.
no, it's not interesting because I can't remember what it was, but I remember like 10 years ago, I think on like an IDM forum that we both know. I remember seeing something about like a
Yeah.
torrent site that was specifically for sort of like VHS rips, like that sort of stuff is still because there's still stuff on VHS that hasn't been converted,
Yeah.
but like
I think it's mostly moved
it's
to torrents.
so niche.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it is still interesting to remember when you start looking into this stuff and this website that we have up right here, 5 Minutes to Live. This is cached from 2006. It's once you start looking into this stuff, you realize that there is still a lot of culture that is not online. And it's almost like if it's not on, like it seems like everything is so easily findable. It seems like everything is so available. But the trade-off with that instant availability is that if something isn't online or isn't easily findable, it might as well not exist. It might as well be in a black hole because it's like we don't have those skills anymore. Like all of this stuff like 5 Minutes to Live grew out of like analog video trading culture, and it's like I know how to find stuff online. I know how to like hunt down torrents and hunt down, weird old cached websites, find, the one not dead link so you can download some weird video you haven't seen in 10 years. But if it comes to finding like a physical copy of some video that literally never made it onto the internet, like how the fuck do you even begin to do that?
Right.
Is,
No, I mean
it's
a time when like I mean it's like public access. It's a time when you sort of had to like be in some sort of community to be able to like receive this kind of stuff. Like
exactly. Yeah, it was
like sort of the experience of watching public access video is something that's lost. Like and similarly, like the experience of sort of like the like communal knowledge you needed to have to find some of this shit like back in the day, and some of it's like become very common now. Some of it's just
Yes.
completely gone.
Well, that, and we'll touch on
But
that
like you had to,
eventually. The
yeah,
split in what became viral videos, what became like the early E-bombs world content, and what is just like lost to time completely.
yeah. And this is why we have this site up in particular. Is 5 Minutes to Live is something we were exposed to, I think, through our time like at Plan 9 Video in Bloomington.
Mm.
Um, we're like a really prolific sort of gray market video purveyor. They had a very cool mix of like weird films that no one had ever seen, and then like these sort of like compilation tapes.
Yeah.
Which
And
I mean are still
Found
like
being,
incredible. Like,
yeah, the one that
the
we
Lost and
were
Found video
obsessed
nights.
with.
And I mean, still is like, I've since then like, it really is like chasing the high. Like I've watched so many different sort of like compilation tapes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched like a bunch of TV Carnage and stuff, and like other sort of like similar kind of like.
Is that the Robin Boogie one?
No, that's Retardotron,
Oh,
which I've never
Retardotron,
actually seen.
Yeah, I watched a couple of those. Mixed bag. A lot of motorcycle crashes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Bizarre.
It's a lot of just people just getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, it's not super entertaining from what I understand, and just kind of like real sicko stuff.
Yeah.
Which I mean is a cool artifact, I guess. But yeah, but the Lost and Found tapes are like, I feel like you can throw those up for almost anybody, and there's
something,
some sort of interest in them.
Yeah, no, they're
and like,
cool.
And as Michael sort of alluded to, a lot of those videos have gone on to become viral videos.
Yeah.
Videos like you mentioned E-Bombs World, and I remember like my first exposure to E-Bombs World in like 2002 or 3 or whatever, like watching the James Brown interview where he's like fucked up and like,
yeah. Look good, smell good, and make love good. Yeah, those are great. And I mean, what else made it on? Like, I'm sure we could just like scroll through.
Yeah, they're those cartoons. I can't remember what they're called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Which ones?
The like the one them because they're like embarrassing to quote.
Yeah. Fair.
But it's like the one where the guy's spoon is too big.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The guy who made let me just look that up. I can't remember it.
Don Hertzfeld.
Yeah, he made those for like yeah. Those were, well, I think what we're talking about too, and what's so interesting about all of this stuff is that things like 5 Minutes to Live and Lost and Found Video Night, which were, 5 Minutes to Live put out tons of stuff, and we'll talk more about 5 Minutes to Live because they really had an incredible catalog, which, I mean, is kind of like mind-blowing, some of the stuff they had access to, which is a much larger research project, but just to find out like how the fuck they found some of this stuff. But Lost and Found Video Night is at that really interesting point where it's on the cusp between like total like mass saturation of the internet and still the more old school video trading culture.
Yes, so absolutely.
You have this stuff that like I think a great example of, I've seen this referenced before as like an early like analog viral video, like pre-internet viral video, is like the farting preacher video.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah
exactly. That's
Can you pull that up really quick?
The classic example.
Should show a couple minutes of that because that is truly one that was like, and you can often tell through like the quality of the video on like YouTube how often the tapes have been dubbed.
Yeah.
Of the farting preacher. I don't know if you can find a nasty one, but like some of them like look like shit.
Yeah, this one looks pretty rough. Yeah, I'll play this really quick. Play a couple minutes, but basically this was a video of like a televangelist, And I think it's definitely, that's something that's like waned culturally as well. But in like the late
Yeah.
'90s, early 2000s, like making fun of televangelists was like the hot shit.
But
Now,
yeah, it's just like a fart track put on top of this.
yeah, it's a
Like,
fart track put on
God,
top of
yeah.
a TV preacher.
Have you seen
Yeah, we don't need to
Farting
watch
Preacher
Farting Preacher
2?
to have this up. But
Fart,
this is
fart,
like
harder, harder,
an
harder.
absolutely like massive success, sort of pre-internet. Like, just traded constantly.
Yeah, yeah, and just people dubbing VHS tapes and sending them in the mail. But then it was
Yeah,
also like, as soon as the internet became a thing and video sharing became a thing, it also became like an early viral
exactly.
hit
Yeah,
on
it's
the
at
internet
the.
as well. So it like crossed that boundary or whatever. It like jumped from one medium to the other.
Hmm.
Yeah. Here, I'll let it play for a sec.
How that just as I came on the air,
Yeah.
Oh, and you can
this
hear
started
that
just
buzz.
bellowing and boiling out of me. Isn't that something? See, you understood it, didn't you? Isn't that something? Isn't that something? In other words, you'll be ahead instead of behind. Hello, this is the gate of heaven. This is the gate of heaven. So people on what to do and how to prosper. Right there. That's something.
Yeah. So
No, I mean it's
simple.
incredible stuff. It's just like
And you can hear that buzz though of just like, this is like a 10th
yeah,
generation VHS tape that got ripped and uploaded. And the
yeah. This looks like
fuzz.
absolute
Yeah,
garbage.
it looks so shitty. But that's how you know it was successful, right? Like so much of
No,
the
totally.
Lost and Found video night looks like complete shit.
Yeah, and it's just kind of an interesting thing where like yeah, I mean the transition between sort of like communal sharing and sort of like anonymous sharing is also so interesting.
Mm.
Like the idea of something going viral in like a community versus the idea of it going viral in like this space where you have no idea who uploaded anything or like I mean like no one I'm assuming in the tape trading community probably no one knew who made this really like I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. I mean,
so often like attests to that like the fact that like someone got this and then just made a million copies and then someone made a million copies and so on like is
Yeah.
very telling of like where this came from.
Yeah, they're bizarre videos. I mean, I wonder if anyone. Yeah, I wonder if at this point anyone even knows who made it. On Wikipedia, it even says, yeah, on the Wikipedia entry where it says satire, two men. That's it. Yeah, so it's
Nice. Yeah,
completely
it's
lost to time. And it was popularized through a radio program in LA. So it's just a lot of, yeah. I mean, again, these like virality is not a new thing. It's so much more apparent on the internet when something gets like
mhm.
a billion views. Like when you have
Yeah,
a
no, I mean
metric that tracks how popular something is. But this type
totally.
of impulse has always existed, and it's so interesting to think about it existing in the context of just people literally mailing VHS tapes to each other, and that was like viral videos before the internet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think sort of like the academic angle, quote unquote, that we wanted to take this week, or the sort of framing I was interested in is like this sort of work that Joan Hawkins has done about these sort of like blurred lines between like what we consider sort of art house film, what we consider like exploitation film, or sort of like paracinema to Lance's kind of term.
Yeah.
And like what's so striking about rereading that stuff is like how much it's I think it was written in the mid to late 90s,
Cutting edge.
and it is like yeah,
The
cutting
Joan
edge,
Hawkins
and so
book,
it's like
yeah.
it's at this like cusp of like sort of like just before internet virality became
Mm-hmm.
like a thing. but does talk a lot about like it has like these incredible descriptions of like exploitation film catalogs
Yes, 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 yes.
that just had like everything, like, and sort of the point of Jones' whole sort of like how little distinction there often is between like art house cinema and exploitation cinema, or like what we think of as sort of like low genres of cinema
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
and like
just
media in general. Like a lot of these like art house catalog, or not art house, I'm sorry, these exploitation catalogs would often have like straight up like what we think of as like European art house cinema, like
yeah.
Antonioni films and like Bresson films, and sort of
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
like any kind
I'm
of
sure
like obscure
Bergman,
media kind
like
of like.
the more like titillating
Oh,
Bergman
totally, yeah.
movies too. I'm sure that's how they first made their way to the U.S. Right? It was in like porn theaters.
I mean, there's been plenty written about like, yeah, sort of like art house cinemas that would, you know, also show sort of like, I mean, like they're all like, and some like straight up what we would think of as like sexploitation films of like
Yeah.
these like nudist like documentary films. Like it was a
Yes.
big genre, like what was supposed to be a nudist camp, and it was just like a bunch of naked
Yeah.
women, sort of like pre like hardcore kind of like erotica,
Mm.
um, that was sort of shown next to, yeah, like you said, like a Bergman film or something that also features nudity or some sort of like titillating content.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about reading the Joan Hawkins book too is all these names of these like these distribution centers, right? And it's like that is so every single one of those is a thread that's probably, I mean, other than Something Weird. She mentioned Something Weird, and that might be the only
Right.
one that's still, you know, extant. That's still like
Yeah,
still
something
kicking
weird
in
is
some form or
kind of
another.
survived. Yeah.
Somehow, which would be fascinating to find out why. But I mean, she
Oh yeah, I mean,
mentions.
I've talked to Linda Petrucci before, the woman who runs that.
Oh, nice, nice. They're just well
Um,
organized.
well, yeah, I mean, it's just I think she, to get on a something weird tangent. Yeah, I think it's completely shifted for her to like sort of redistributing something weird's
Hmm.
like library and sort of finding like releases for some of these movies. Like, so something weird doesn't put anything out at this point, but like
Mm.
they'll partner with like American Genre Film Archive or something like that, or
Gotcha,
like
gotcha,
Vinegar
gotcha.
Syndrome, and like put stuff out still. And that's because Franey was sort of the founder of something weird.
Who
I
was?
think he died. Mike Vraney is his name.
Mike Vraney.
Vraney.
Cool.
Made, I can't remember, like late 2000s, early 2010s or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but he was like really the like collector. She did all the graphic design and art
Cool.
for
Which is
something
also
weird.
probably
And
what helps set it apart too, because I mean,
absolutely,
5 Minutes to
yeah,
Live, which we've been talking about, is phenomenal, incredible releases. But I mean, there's a lot of their stuff looked kind of, you know, I mean, it looked pretty homemade. Something Weird
yeah,
looked
pretty
cool
fucking
as fuck.
busted.
Like, Something Weird was very, very cool looking.
Well, yeah, no, I'm thinking I got recently. They did a like collaboration with AGFA to put out a Blu-ray of a Bat Pussy.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but like Johnny Ryan does the cover art. Like it's like a very like highbrow kind of like release in that sense. Like it's very very well put together.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Um, but I mean, even their old stuff featured like great like illustrations and graphic design. And
Mm.
this is something actually that Joan Hawkins like points out in her pieces, that like something weird is very well like, yeah, as opposed to 5 Minutes to Live, which kind of has
Yeah, so this
this
is an
uniform like color scheme, but just
yeah,
kind of looks
yeah,
like
very
shit.
kind of like plug and play. Something Weird has the cool little Dracula logo. I love that
Yeah, no,
guy.
it's all so cute. It's
And
so
then
good.
yeah, 5 Minutes to Live is like
Yeah, it is what everything looks like.
yeah, Something Weird is like well, Something Weird also I think it's a thing too of I mean, obviously, all these things are real, like, passion projects. You don't
Yeah.
start a distribution label like this unless you're really passionate about really fringe filmmaking.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like 5 Minutes to Live, again, it does have that, or Something Weird does have that graphic design edge where it has the retro feel, and it kind of has the same look as like grindhouse cinema of the playbills of like old exploitation movies, and like the
Yes,
posters for
totally.
like double features of trashy films that the people who are obsessed with this stuff like salivate over and obsess over, and that you see reproductions of constantly because they're so cool and
Yeah,
weird looking.
absolutely.
I have a great example here actually that was in Cinema Sewer and is in this Doris Wishman zine. But I know you've seen this one.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, the classic Chesty Morgan and Double Agent 73. But it just looks so fucking cool. Like, it's so stylish.
Yeah. Looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but no, I mean something weird is kind of a unique case where like
Outlier.
Also.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean they also made this sort of. I think they made a kind of like transition between like gray market thing where Mike Franey was like buying up these warehouses of film and sort of releasing the cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then like directly working with like the like a lot of the filmmakers to do releases, like sort of becoming like a legitimate operation. Minutes to Live, I think, is completely like fly by night. Like I don't think they ever like incorporated or anything. Like there's no business there really. Like it's just some collective of some sort.
Yeah. It's a very DIY operation, very passion project.
But yeah, I mean, what's so cool about them, and that like I think really resonates with like Joan Hawkins' piece, is that like 5 Minutes to Live was released a lot of films that are now have received releases by the Criterion Channel or like Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
That at the time they came out on DVD through 5 Minutes to Live were like the only way you could see these things. And like some really like odd shit like that isn't like doesn't necessarily read as like art house, and like that has kind of been like accepted into this sort of like realm of like important film by its association with Criterion. So I'm thinking particularly of like, I mean, I think the like biggest example is Hausu, like the Japanese movie,
totally.
House.
Totally.
Which is like 70s kind of like, I guess a horror movie, but it's just this kind of like,
just like
it's really like an impossible film to describe. But
I mean, I think this is people are familiar with it even if they haven't. Like, I think it's one of those films that, again, has it's just such an absurd spectacle that a lot of people are familiar with it just because of how crazy it is. And I remember encountering just like clips of it way before I ever saw the movie.
Totally.
When it was still, and because again, a lot of these things like I think we were kind of became interested in this stuff again at that shifting point where like when I remember getting into this exploitation film and weirdo art cinema and outsider left field movies and everything through Plan 9, right at the point where it was still pretty hard to find this stuff. But you could find like clips. You could find like weirdest scenes from Hausu online embedded on someone's website. Little like, QuickTime videos like embedded on the webpage.
Yeah,
and now we're at the point where you can, you can stream like a Blu-ray rip of this. Like, I mean, it's just no problem at all. It's incredibly easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not 100% sure of the like release schedule of this, but I mean, I think for a long time, like 5 Minutes to Live was like one of the better options for seeing this. If not the only solution, at least in America. Like I see this DVD cover down here on the Google Images. But I think that was like a PAL release. I think that was on like Region 2 or something. So
Which
you can
one?
watch it in America. This green cover.
Oh, the green cover with the house. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a European release of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's that. They're like William Klein's films, which are a lot less well known, but sort of are like, I mean, Mr. America in particular.
Yes. Oh my God.
Captain America. Captain America.
Captain America. Yeah, I was.
Or wait, is it Captain America or Mr. America?
Mr. Freedom.
Mr. Freedom.
Mr.
Yeah,
Freedom.
Mr. Freedom.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
freedom.
Yeah, it stars guest stars Serge Gainsbourg.
Yeah, yeah. One perfect line.
Yeah.
And that's on Eclipse now, right? Or it was released as an Eclipse.
Yeah, it was released as an Eclipse. The thing they'd released all of his movies, which I know for a fact there's no DVD release of those other than 5 Minutes to Live, like before the Criterion release in like 2012 or 13 or whatever. Like,
yeah, I mean, I Mr. Freedom. Mr. Freedom is amazing. I remember the 5 Minutes to Live release of it, and also that it was like complete garbage. Like it was just like,
it looks like absolute shit. Yeah,
but it was so. But again, this was like an era when, the thing I always think about is like so many people, who in the 70s, 80s, like in the pre-video era, their entire exposure to a lot of obscure cinema was probably through like 16 millimeter prints of 35 millimeter, like shot on 35 millimeter European art house movies. Like that's how they saw Fellini and all of these things. Like so many people probably saw 8.5 like cropped down to 4:3 and like projected on a 16 millimeter projector. So this is just an extension of that, where you get these like multi-generation video transfers of these movies, and it's like, it looks like dog shit, but hey, like you finally got your hands on Hausu, you finally got your hands on Mr. Freedom, so you
absolutely
kind of take what you can get.
No, yeah, I mean it's just so wild, and like,
oh my God, this
and like
movie.
I mean
I gotta rewatch this.
It's very fun. It's not like a great movie, but it's
so much
wild.
Yeah,
it has some real high points too. There are like some sequence, and like William Klein is also just an interesting person.
Yes.
Like I don't know how much of his like biography you know.
Well, he was a Vogue photographer, right? He was like a fashion photographer.
Yeah, he has like a distinction of he's a Vogue photographer who moved to France. He's like an American expatriate, but he was also like a really sort of formative person in like street photography, like his city portraiture of Brooklyn and like street portraiture of Brooklyn. And its residents is like really influential. I think it's referenced in a Roland Barthes book, Camera Lucida.
Cool. Nice.
Like has a reprint of a William Klein photo in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he also made these like weirdo films, and I think he was also the director of photography for a Louis Malle film.
Really?
Yeah, Zazie.
No,
you know this
shit.
one?
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I'm familiar.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, it looks just like Mr. Freedom. Like, there are scenes of kind of like chaos, and like he's sort of like obsessed with these scenes of like urban chaos, where just like it'll be like in a city and just like, I mean, well, like the curious thing about Mr. Freedom is it's like this movie that takes place in Paris, but it's all like shot in like these basements, basically, where like
huge
like
a
million
catacombs.
people like piled on top of each other, and that's like sort of how a lot of his stuff is. Like Zazie has this incredible scene at the end where like there's like this food fight that breaks out at like a diner, and then like the walls of the diner fall down. There's like this giant back projection of like policemen. The chaos, like the walls just keep kind of like falling down, and like more and more people are introduced into this like scene of chaos. So this incredibly like distinctive, interesting like film style. That, I mean, the Criterion was right to like release all his films.
Just Eclipse
in like a nice little package, but
he didn't get the main imprint. Maybe one day.
No, yeah.
Wild.
But
that's really cool. I didn't know. So he was DP on Zazie. Cool. Yeah, I
think that's his like movie. Yeah, you should. It's really, really funny. It's really good.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I think like the thing that's always like stuck out to me is like I really suspect this is my like personal suspicion is that like the Criterion Collection has some direct line to 5 Minutes to Live.
Yes,
Like,
and this is what you were talking about this.
yeah, I mean, like, I think like especially the Lost and Found video nights,
Mm-hmm.
which are there are rips of them out there. Like you can see them if you like look, or if you
Yeah.
have like a good like independent video store in your town, like they'll likely have these because
Yeah.
they're sort of like hot.
If you were the type of person who owned a weirdo video store, you were
Yeah,
in the social
absolutely.
circles that traded these videos.
No, totally. And so, but you watch one of those things, and like the sort of level of curation that's going on, like
Mm-hmm.
there are like these clips from like, yes, these sort of like art house like adjacent films. Like Mr. Freedom obviously isn't like a true like what we'd think of as like an art house film, but it's not an
Right.
exploitation film either. Like
Yeah.
it has like a sort of like a very particular visual like aesthetic intent,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
like
I mean,
especially
again,
the
it
things
has
that
like an
like,
absurdity to it that I think was very at home with
yes, absolutely.
contemporary video art stuff. Like it totally fits in. Like Ryan Tricarton's work, is totally
Yes,
reminiscent of
absolutely.
Mr. Freedom is totally reminiscent of that stuff. Like just
No,
chaos
totally.
and costumes and characters and everything.
Yeah, but like I mean, like you look at those, and like I think especially the biggest tip off is like the music curation in a lot of those, like
Yes.
just like rare concert footage that's still hard to find like on
Yeah.
the like YouTube or
Well,
whatever,
the
like just
music,
on the
yeah, the
surface
music
web.
episode or the music one is kind of the most interesting for that reason because it seems like
So like
it's
there's some like real knowledge and intent that has gone into these things,
oh
and
yeah.
like it makes me wonder that like I think we could probably I haven't done this, so I don't know. Suspect based on like the fact that Criterion released both House and these William Klein movies, and I feel like some other stuff I'm forgetting, but like
There's
a
definitely
lot of
more
this stuff like
crossover.
comes up again later and sort of gets legitimized through these like other like
Mm-hmm.
nicer releases, right?
Yeah.
I'm just curious what that connection is, because like I
Uh,
think there's something there.
I think there is too, and that's kind of the trajectory for a lot of this stuff. I mean, again, the term like psychotronic cinema, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that to me when I first became aware of that term and that whole kind of scholarship long after I had been introduced to this stuff as just exploitation film, right? And it's a lot of this stuff that is just kind of like the trash and the refuse that is really hard to find, that you only really hunt
Mm-hmm.
down if you're like a true freak who's obsessed with this stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it does eventually get rehabilitated
Yeah.
because
No.
it's
Yeah.
so weird and it is so like it's not maybe not as serious again as a European art house film, but it has enough of like a unique vision, and it has a unique voice that eventually someone who's going to be digging through the muck is going to find something like Mr. Freedom and come to the realization that,
Yeah.
oh wait, no, this actually is pretty artistic. Like this is
No, totally. I mean, it's strange. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I think the fact that this has happened for 5 Minutes to Live, where I can't kind of think of the equivalent for like something weird. Like something weird doesn't really get rehabilitated like in
Mhm.
the same way, even though like not all of their stuff is like porno or whatever. Like a lot of it is just like, or like Mondo Macabre. Like
Yes, oh, Mondo Macabre.
those don't
Wow.
have the same like pipeline to Criterion, and I think a lot of those films are like just as sort of like interesting and noteworthy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was
Like,
just revisiting La Sexorcista.
which
Have
one's
you
that?
seen that one? It's a
I don't know if I
insane
have.
Mexican nunsploitation.
Oh, I never actually saw
Yeah,
this.
that one's
Yeah,
a
I
lot
know
of
which one.
fun. But it's just like
I know
so
this cover.
colorful, and the cover's incredible. It's so colorful, so
Yeah, pull that up.
insane.
That's good.
It's a Mexican convent is becomes possessed by Satan, or Satan comes to visit a Mexican convent and turns, or yeah, Satanico Pandemonium is the other title, and from bride of Christ to slave of Satan, and just turns all the nuns
Yeah, I
into
mean
just,
that's
like, sex
a
crazed
tremendous
maniacs.
cover.
It's fucking incredible. But yeah, Mundo Macabro, I haven't thought about that in ages. And you're right that I can't think of any titles that they put out that have had
No, I mean they have like
similar
legit. I mean they have like a lot of films that like. I mean, like, not that this is a sign of quality, but like the like Kinski movies that are like released on there. Like, I mean, obviously, like Kinski would also like be in anything. Like,
yeah, true, yeah,
just
yeah.
sort of down, like the Nicolas Cage of his time would absolutely be in any kind of shit. But like,
perfect description.
there are like plenty of films of note. Like, I mean, like Clonus, the horror of Clonus, was like ripped off and turned into The Island by Michael Bay. Right?
Yeah.
Like, there are plenty of notable things there. So I think the fact that there is this like confluence, or like this preponderance of like stuff making its way from 5 Minutes to Live over to Criterion is really telling. Like, and like also just like the depth of knowledge, like when you compare, and like we were saying, like when you compare this to other mixtapes.
Yeah.
Like, this is so much better. Like, it requires sort of like a cultural literacy that is like just really, really hard to achieve, especially given like the fact that it's all occurring over tape trading, which makes it all the more incredible, because it's not just downloading like cool concert footage from YouTube and putting it onto tape. Like, it really is like you needed to know someone who had like made a bootleg recording of something, like blah blah blah, or like had like worked at the TV station where like something had been recorded for like public access or something. Like, you sort of needed to have an inside line.
Yeah, I mean, here's another great example, that that Japanese puppet show.
Yes,
you see that on the thumbnail? Yeah, that's another one that I remember seeing probably on like on E-Bombs World or something. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Crazy Japanese kids show, you know? And it's like that.
Totally.
Like, I think so much of this stuff, it's not like it might have come from other tape traders, but like I think a lot of it probably came directly from 5 Minutes to Live. Whoever put these videos together, like you were saying, had like an unparalleled cultural sensibility, curatorial sensibility, just a breadth of contacts and people that they knew that they could reach out to and talk about this stuff. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
No, I mean, it's great. I can't recommend these tapes enough. And it's a little bit hard to talk about without just sort of like gushing over them, because they're so cool.
They're so good.
So cool.
And we have, so how many, I know we have rips of them too, because we've been obsessed with this stuff since we were teenagers. I have 1 through 7, and you have some more, right?
Yeah, I think I have 9 and 10. I might have 8
9
too.
and 10.
I don't remember.
Okay, so 8 might be the lost one. I don't think I've never seen 8, 9, or 10.
Movie Madness in Portland has it.
Yeah.
So I just need to figure out what I don't have a rip off, but I'll make a rip of that. We can.
Yeah.
Honestly, making those available somewhere would be a good public project. Those are like very, very valuable pieces of culture.
Oh yeah, they're gold. I mean, even because some of the stuff is so well known. Again, like the things we talked about, those animations and Japanese cartoon or Japanese like kids show. You know, but some of those videos are so obscure and still so bizarre. I'm thinking the one that really sticks in my mind. Do you remember this one where it's like the woman in the ball gown on a football field, and she's like she's holding on. She has she's like, there's 2 blimps that she's kind of like, they're attached to these.
Oh
ropes,
yes,
and she's just walking around an empty football field.
Yes, I do remember
these blimps. It's so bizarre. It's like
it's so strange.
And it's so beautiful, and so just like kind of haunting. And she's in, she has this kind of like deadpan look on her face, and she's in this like glittery like debutante gown, or she looks like she's like the witch from Wizard of Oz or something. It's so fucking strange.
Yeah.
And it's
no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I wouldn't know how to begin to find that on YouTube. You probably could eventually, but yeah, definitely hard.
Yeah, there's some incredible stuff. I mean, there's like a Motown video, I think. Do you remember this? I think this is in volume 7. It's like a clip of like a Motown music video, like very old, like sort of before music videos were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it has like a bunch of like topless women in it. Like it's incredibly horny. Do you remember this?
I think I do, yeah, and they're just kind of like go-go
Yeah.
dancing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really strange. They just like at an apartment complex, like
Yes,
on the
yes.
stairs.
On the fire
Like,
escape. On the fire escape,
yes.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, absolutely.
It's really weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think we
And
need
just
to.
like, yeah.
No, go on, go on.
No. I don't have anything to say about it. Just that I don't know how to find that like outside of that tape. Like,
I know, right? I mean, there's again, and
where
there's
does that
so
stuff
many
go?
things, dude. I mean, the lady blowing out the candle. Come on,
yeah.
that's
Yeah, it was legendary.
incredible. Queefing and blowing out a
Yeah.
candle.
Yeah, I don't know how you
someone's
find that
home
queef
video. Someone's home video, clearly. Like that was
Yes.
not made for mass consumption. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
No, it's so great. They're so nasty and funny.
yeah, they really are, and so well edited too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, I had high hopes for lots of other. When I hunted down, I feel like I was so hungry for that stuff. I hunted down a lot of those other video mixtapes.
Yeah.
And they just
No,
did
TV
not
Carnage
compare.
comes close sometimes, but it's like just not the same.
Yeah, and then some of them also, I feel like they're made up of like they're not as niche as Lost and Found. Like they'll be
Yeah.
made up of the videos that would, like so many more, like with Retardotron, I feel like a lot of those videos are recognizable as would become early viral videos. So like you've
Yeah,
seen a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
this stuff before. Like with Lost and Found, you've seen maybe 20% of it, but like a lot of it is still really fucking
Yeah, genuinely
weird.
new and surprising.
Yeah, yeah.
Like stuff that's still. I mean, like I think the example I always think about is Meryl Womack. Did you ever get
Yes.
into him? Yeah, who's still like a really fringe character. Who's like basically you should pull up a picture of him, but he was like
Yeah.
a Christian singer
How do you
who
spell it?
whose whole sort of like angle was
Yes.
like they had been like horribly burned in a plane crash.
Yeah. Oh my god, that
So,
video
like-
is so bizarre. And he had reconstructive surgery.
Yeah, very like early sort of like facial reconstruction. It's just like a really like, and like also like this is like such a particular affect that like only can be achieved through something like redubbing a tape is like when you see. I remember the first time I like have a visceral memory of seeing this footage for the first time of him sort of like singing to like a burn unit at a hospital. It's like
Yes.
it's footage of him like
He's singing to people in a
lip
hospital
syncing to
bed.
a song.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
And they're like close-ups of all these people crying. He's sort of like wandering around the room, and then you like don't realize until it like zooms up on his face because the like quality of the tape is so bad
Mhm.
that you can't really see his face until it does this close-up. And it's this incredible reveal where he's like disfigured by an accident and like
Yeah. Yeah.
has
and
this incredibly like distinctive face.
Yeah, I mean a bizarre phenomenon too, like such a. Oh wait, yeah, there we go. Look at that.
Yeah, that's the
That's
footage.
the video. That's the video.
But yeah, I mean, like he, like no one thinks about him anymore. You can, I don't know if he still can, but several years ago, you could still find his like record at like Goodwill and stuff. Like, it's just something that's kind of been forgotten.
Yeah, just a weird like bargain bin cultural ephemera. And I'm looking now, and he has like almost 20 albums that he recorded. too.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, here's an interesting factoid too. Notable for founding National Music Service, which provided record music to funeral homes, recorded music.
Whoa.
Yeah, interesting.
Very
he's
weird.
Really morbid music career.
Yeah.
I mean, I
very
guess that was his
strange.
niche. You got to find your niche. Global Distribution Network Incorporated. God knows what that is. Maybe he got out of the music game.
Is he still alive? I guess he could be.
2014.
Wow. He died in
Yeah.
2014?
That's what it looks like here. He was a
That's
4-octave
crazy.
tenor. This must have been his personal site.
That's absolutely wild.
Wow. Oh, so this Global Distribution Network Incorporated is this is what National Music Service turned into, the funeral home record company.
How weird. I wonder what they do
Yeah.
now.
From the introduction to the world's first music library of its kind to the Memorial Video Tribute Program.
Oh wow, it got into
There he
video?
is. Yeah, yeah. I guess they do videos too.
How strange. What a crazy life.
Unreal, yeah. So they do stock video, music library. They do stock video for memorials. I mean, good niche, I guess. Clearly.
But yeah, I mean, very much like the farting preacher, like this guy doesn't really have a lot of cultural imprint outside of like this like tape trading scene.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
the fact that
exactly.
like his music is sort of like a side gig too. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever else he ended up doing, like clearly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um
he got into corporate funeral home music providing of some sort.
yeah,
I
no, very
guess.
strange.
Yeah, interesting turn.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Oh my God, Meryl
But yeah,
Womack. Yeah,
it's a big tangent.
you have such a good memory. uh, some of this.
I
Yeah,
mean, I recently rewatched this volume too. I think it's volume 5 that this stuff's in.
nice. Yeah,
That's
I need to
like
rewatch Lost in
incredible. I
Time.
think that's the best one.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Satanico Pandemonium, Mr. Freedom, Hausu. I mean, there's some. Again, and
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
mean,
it's you kind of lose sight of just like how. Also, again, if just going through
well, no,
one
I
of
mean,
these
it's like
catalogs, like there's so much stuff in them. There's so much stuff
there's
that
so
it's
much
like,
stuff. I've been looking. I've been sort of idly browsing the 5 Minutes to Live catalog. We've been talking because
yeah,
you have
yeah,
this like great archive.org.
yeah.
Um,
Again, 2006 seems to be when the website was in the best shape.
yeah, but like I don't know. It's also very. It's also just a different scene than like. I think about the companies that are doing this now, like American Genre Film Archive, Vinegar Syndrome, like
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas
Severin.
Winding Refn
Yeah,
has
yeah.
his like project. Like there is like a different focus. Like unfortunately, we are sort of out of the era of like like just like these massive home releases.
Yeah.
Like the focus really now is on like quality and sort of creating like
A
what you would
collectible.
call like a prestige product.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the assumption now is that like you won't buy physical media unless it's
Exactly.
something that it kind of goes beyond just being goes beyond just being like the film itself. Like it has to be something that you can either display or that you can
Mm-hmm.
has like a really cool cover art or something, right? Like again, Severin Films is one that I always think about. Like
Yes.
they kind of do a lot of like hammer horror and stuff. I mean that kind of style of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they always do really beautiful releases with like hand painted or just kind of retro looking cover art and things like that. But it's always very pretty looking and it's very cool looking and it's like you could never
No, totally.
survive making shit that looked like this anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean just a completely different scene.
Yeah,
And what you really lose, even though you're getting better quality product, is like this just sort of like massive catalog of like everything that's like moderately interesting,
yeah, yeah,
like
absolutely.
that's ever been made, basically.
Yeah,
Like
and
anything that had any kind of release.
yeah, I mean truly and just I mean
I mean,
how
I'm looking at like their Sorry.
no. I just think it's so fascinating to think about the Heaven's Gate tape, for instance. So many of these
Yes.
images are dead, but like to think this is a video that is so easy to find online, and so many people have seen probably like a 10-second clip of it of just a guy being like, "Wow, man," just like making weird faces, and
Mm-hmm.
talking about like the comet coming or whatever to take everyone. But it's like you think back to a time when it was totally rational to spend $20 on a DVD of just that video.
Yeah,
Like
no,
you're
it's
spending
it's a
$20 for a single video. Like because
very different mindset.
it's that hard to find. Like that's
Yeah, no, I mean, like existing in a time of scarcity, of like media scarcity, is just like
And we just, I mean,
completely
we're just
unimaginable.
so far removed from that.
But I mean, like, also, like, I'm looking like at the bizarre TV tab on this, which I think you were just looking at.
Mm.
Like, there are 4 volumes of Andy Kaufman footage,
Yes.
which all had to be compiled from like, individual like disparate home recordings of
Yeah,
like his appearances on television over like however many years.
Individual obsessive fans taping this shit off TV.
Yeah, no, I
Catch
mean,
a
like, this
Rising
is
Star. Like, what is that? Who's ever heard of that show? Andy on the
Yeah.
Dating Game. Like, oh, Old MacDonald. Well, that's maybe one of the ones that has more longevity. But like, Dick Van Dyke Show. I mean, Playboy Channel performance. Like,
the Dinah
truly
Shore
obsessive
show.
shit. And this is probably the only way a lot of this, because again, like we've talked
No,
about.
I mean, like, I remember getting into Andy Kaufman in high school, and like these were the clips that were online.
Exactly.
Like,
they're recognizable.
they are exactly these clips, and I'm sure they were like ripped from this DVD. Like,
yeah.
this was the only way to see this shit, because like he didn't put out like a huge body of work. Like, it was like all compiled from like different clips. Like, that's how you like experience Andy Kaufman, and like YouTube sort of makes you take this for granted. But like, yeah, I mean, truly, like,
isn't some of the wrestling women stuff on 5 Minutes to Live too?
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Yeah.
I'm seeing like. No, I'm sure it is. I mean, I can't look through
all
all
his
these things super
SNL
quickly, but,
features too. Like, and it is interesting to think about because I mean, again, you get so disconnected from the source of this stuff when you are just finding it on YouTube. But like, so many of these videos now, they probably this wherever the 5 Minutes to Live people found these videos, that is probably the original source that we're still watching.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, like,
so
listen
many
to this.
generations later.
Like, on Volume 4, we have Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman on Letterman uncensored, so they're like swearing at each other uncensored. Like, that didn't exist on a home release anywhere.
Yeah, that was probably from a TV station. Exactly, that was probably from
someone leaked that and they like traded it or something. They got it somehow. That's incredible.
I mean, imagine how many freaks there were who were like camera operators at TV stations back in the day who were probably fueling this scene and just being like, "Oh, you won't believe it, dude." The Bill O'Reilly, that famous Bill O'Reilly video. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah.
Like, that shit was just some cameraman who was just like, "Damn, you won't believe what he did today," and just like copied that on
sort
VHS
of like one of
and then sent it to all their friends.
Unless it's like Kanye West doing something like nuts, like that's like the way you get this kind of footage now. Like, I mean, like the Christian, what's that guy's name? I'm so stupid. Christian
Weston
Chandler? The Batman, Mr. Batman.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Yeah, like his meltdown. Like, I mean, like. Yeah, like that's all this shit comes from like disgruntled employees, but like that. So I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like the avenues for like truly weird stuff are like fewer and farther between.
Yeah, and also again I mean, like you mentioned Kanye. I mean, how much of that stuff is organic and how much of that stuff is like PR is so advanced at this point that it's indistinguishable from organic social video creation, right? I mean, that's kind of the ultimate goal for this shit for advertising too, is to seem as organic as possible. So I mean, who knows how authentic any of this shit is. I mean, with Kanye, probably more so than any other celebrity because his shit is so out there. But still, it's like, I don't know. Whenever I see anything about anything about a celebrity being unguarded at this point, it's like really take it with a huge grain of salt.
Yeah, highly suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the streams of distribution have kind of collapsed. I think that's sort of like the story of like 21st century media. So it's hard to take anything at face value in the same way, and like in the same way you can take like the clips of like Richard Simmons like swearing and like slapping his mother on like outtakes from his show. Like, it's not the same. Like, someone released that. Like, certainly not planned.
Well, you need big celebrities for that too, and yeah, I mean, like Gus was
Yeah.
saying a couple weeks ago, like, can you think of any superstar, like, film stars under 30? Like, it's an increasingly fractured field, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there aren't mega celebrities, or there aren't really those types of mega celebrities anymore where them doing something outlandish. There's a few, but, you know, maybe like Justin Bieber, but, you know, their outlandish behavior is an increasingly niche interest because they have an increasingly
Yes,
niche
absolutely.
audience. Like, we don't, you know, superstars are dying out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. God.
Well, we didn't get to Snuff,
We
but
didn't
this
touch
seems
it at
like
all.
maybe,
What
which
are you
kind
gonna
of sucks.
do?
I was kind of stoked to talk about that, but
We'll
that's
do
okay.
we'll do it next week. We'll talk about this image in the top right
Yeah.
is some people in the field making Cannibal Holocaust, which we thought maybe we'd touch
Yeah,
on
I
at some
think
point.
the myth of the Snuff film is something we're both very interested in, and
Yeah,
again, like
yeah.
touches on these sort of like blurred categories between art film and like
Yeah.
sleaze film.
Yeah, and
Um,
the intentional and unintentional blurring of like what is real, what is fiction, what is just kind of like, again, Cannibal Holocaust is a great example because the framing story of that film is that, oh, we just like happened upon these film, like this was a film crew that went to South America and we just like happened to find their reels and now we're gonna watch them and, you know, we're so disgusted by them, right? It's
Right.
like you're yeah, there's constantly trying to, and Snuff as well, even though it's like so unbelievable, is meant to be sold as like this is a real film of people dying, you know.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
done very poorly, but yeah, that's the idea behind it.
Yeah. Still
Yeah.
managed to create like I think one of the most sort of enduring, like sort of countercultural like pieces of film terminology.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that
Like
more.
something that absolutely every single person on the planet has heard of. And we
Yeah.
can talk, yeah, we should talk about that more on another stream. Cause
Yeah, I mean, the etymological origin of
we're,
snuff as a term too for like films of people dying. Yeah, it's something we can definitely.
yeah,
dig
it comes
into.
from this movie, which is like, as we'll get into, is like the most successful film PR, maybe of all time.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Cannibal Holocaust. They did all right too. They got rated by Interpol. But yeah, snuff is yeah, probably number one.
Yeah.
All right. So
Well,
we
yeah,
call it.
I guess with that, I guess we're off. Yeah.
Great. See you next week.
All right. Night night. Bye bye.
Bye bye.